Hello, everyone. Welcome to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. And we are also on a lot of other broadcasting networks now. We have just going to mention it because I know Christopher is sharing the show. So I thank you for that.
Yep.
So Dr. Christopher, salute. But before we introduce ourselves and everything, I want you guys to know something new. We are on Going Bold TV, and we are also on Going Solo TV. And, we're just excited about being on Roku. So I hope you guys will join us there. All you have to do is go into streaming and then do a search for Going Bold TV or Going Solo TV, and you'll
That
find it.
easy, huh?
Yeah, so save it, and it's exciting. We're getting, I think over 100,000 hits already. So we're
Cece, run that by me again. How much? So I remember you told me that number. How many views? It's been over 100,000 in how long?
we're talking like a month maybe. I think we've only been up a few weeks. I don't even know when, but
Yeah.
it's like, well, and you know what? It was like for like the end of the month, right? It was we had like just an unbelievable amount of people just the very first week, right? And then it starts all over again because they count it every month, right? So they kicked it over and it's starting every month. So we're blowing it up again.
That
So
is so
just,
wild. I love that.
but
So it,
those of you that don't know us, this is the goingsolomedia.com. We put everything on
absolutely.
this channel on the internet. So if you want to find us there, but this show is called Boy and Girl Thing. I am Cece Shatz, and I have my good friend here with me, Dr. Christopher Salute.
Hi, Cece. Thank you so much. And I'll stop sharing for a second just to introduce myself and to tell you why I'm wearing this ridiculous thing around my neck. I just moved into a little mobile home in Vegas. I bought my little slice of Vegas, and the AC unit is broken. So I bought this thing at Home Depot. We're going to see how it works. It's called the Arctic Freeze. So far, it doesn't feel very Arctic, but we'll see how it goes. I've got an AC unit next to me. We are really, really trying to be warm for you, and I didn't want to cancel on you, Cece. I wanted to make sure that we were still having fun this week.
Well,
So
I appreciate that. And
you
those of
got
you that don't know me, I am Cece Shatz. I'm the Doyenne of Relationships. I am a divorce, dating, and a life coach. And so we've got a fun topic tonight. We're going to talk about non-negotiables. What are they and why are they important? So, in dating, we talk a lot about the non-negotiables. So you want to kick that off, Christopher?
absolutely, absolutely for sure. So I was sharing the show a little bit, but Cece, I was thinking about it the other day, and I was thinking about you and I having maybe different perspectives on this with regard to what a non-negotiable would be and what our non-negotiables might be. Because we tend to have different views on certain things. And at first, I thought that the best thing we should do is probably what let's define what a non-negotiable is, right? And I did some googling to prep for the show, and what I found was. The definition of a non-negotiable. So non-negotiable is something that's not open to discussion or modification. Now, the legal term is of a document not able to be transferred or assigned to the legal ownership of another person, right? But when we talk about non-negotiables, right, non-negotiables in a relationship are going to be a little bit different, right? Non-negotiables in a relationship are typically going to be, things that you're not going to date somebody with. You're not going to date somebody who does. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you're already dating somebody and you're not going to negotiate. They're typically things that are a hard stop when you are learning about somebody. Would you agree to that? Would that be the definition?
Yeah. The definition of the non-negotiable qualities in a relationship are the characteristics and the values that must be present to be successful and mutually beneficial partnerships where both people feel happy and fulfilled.
Love that. Love that. So I thought we might start with, it's up to you, Cece. I've been crazy busy. I haven't been able to connect with you today and figure out how we want to start it. But I pulled up a couple of articles. The top 17 to 20. I have two different articles from lovepanky.com, which is ridiculous. And then this one's called, if I can pull it up, let's see, the SO. I can't read the whole thing because I don't have it pulled up, but the soulmate.com. So, we can go through what some other folks' non-negotiables are, but I thought maybe we could ask you what your non-negotiables are. What would you prefer?
Yeah, I mean, comes off the top of my head, smoking is always one, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's for me. I'm not, and I say that, but I did date a smoker and didn't even realize it because he smoked those e-cigarettes, and it wasn't that noticeable, and
Not
he was
bad.
very respectful about it. So I didn't really catch it that he was a smoker per se. But that's always been on my hot list, that.
So I
And
will.
I think being, I don't know, it's more of the compatible thing for me. But let's go down through the list because I've got a list too here. I mean,
Love it.
I researched it too. But so what are some of the things for you? We can go like back and forth if you want.
Love it. Love it. And then we
Mhm.
can go through some of the experts as well.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna throw up my live up on Instagram as well. Make sure that we've got those folks engaged. Oh God, we don't.
Like, for me, like, for instance, you want them to be, take a shower and stuff before,
Well, it's
you know,
funny that you mention that because um, my two of my big non-negotiables are smoking and
mhm.
hygiene for sure. But I think that I've dated folks who have smoked, and I think that if there's a recognition there that they're trying to at least alleviate that or trying to change it, that's something that I can work with. I told you, of course, I don't know if you remember my smoking story. Did I tell you about the smoker that I dated?
No. Mm-mm.
So I think I told you on a different show, but it was a casual. I thought it was a casual date. We met on a dating app, and I picked her up. I went to the movies, and I drop her off at the front because it's raining, and I wanted to make sure that she was dry. So parked the car, grabbed an umbrella, walked over to where she was at the front of the movie theater, and there she was smoking a cigarette. And I said, okay, fine. I said, I didn't know you were a smoker. And she said, yeah, I guess we should have discussed that before the date. I said, yeah. Then we wind up going and go to the movies. And I'll be honest, we got a little frisky in the theater. And we come home that evening and we, do the rest of what happens when you get frisky. And we're laying there kind of snuggling. And she goes, so what are you looking for, out of this dating app? And I said, honestly, not a relationship. I was just kind of looking for, some more casual one night stand kind of stuff. I guess we should have talked about that before the date too. And so both of us were a little shocked that evening. And if you're just joining us from Instagram, I'm going to apologize now. I look like a fool. There's zero AC in my house right now. I'm wearing the Arctic Freeze from Home Depot to see if I can feel a little bit better. So when you see this on YouTube, you're going to see me looking like a fool. So, but the other thing about
I think that's probably one of them, isn't it? Knowing knowing what the other person wants in a relationship as you're starting to beginning to date. If they want something long term, or if they're just looking for, an evening or whatever.
I think though that kind of restriction, though, to me doesn't seem like a non-negotiable. So, for example, I could be looking for more of a commitment. You might be looking for something a little bit more casual. We might want to go on a few dates and kind of see where that goes, because that changes pretty quick, does it not? Like, you haven't been in a relationship where you said, oh, this could be the one, and then you realize, they're the one for now, or the opposite, where you go, I'm really looking for something casual, and somebody really just strikes your attention. Does that happen to you?
Yeah, but the point is, you want to be on the same mindset at the beginning, right? It's one thing if
Sure.
you go out, you go out and then you find, well, they're really not. You're not connected. You're just not feeling it. That's one thing. But if you go straight into a relationship, if you're starting to date someone and you know perfectly well they do not want to be into a
Right.
long-term relationship, then I think that is a non-negotiable. If you want a long-term relationship, if
Yeah.
that's really what you're looking for, that doesn't mean that it couldn't switch. I mean, she could change her mind, as the relationship goes on, but you're opening yourself up for heartbreak if you're stepping into something that you know perfectly well at the very beginning that someone's on a different mindset than you. So I think it's a meeting of the minds. I think that's also a non-negotiable. You have to be on the same wavelength and
Yes.
about a lot of issues as you're starting to build your relationship.
Yeah, and I tend to think about non-negotiables more as ideas than things. So, for example, a couple of my non-negotiables have been, I really can't. It's difficult for me to date a smoker. I've dated smokers. You know, it's high. I would say hygiene is without a doubt. I just can't. And
I'm
it's
with you 100% on that.
yeah.
Long fingernails. If a guy's got long fingernails,
if guys have long fingernails,
forget it.
Really, you're done.
I don't even care if they play the guitar.
Yeah. What if they're manicured though? What if they're nice and manicured?
Yeah, not if they're long. I won't do it.
How long is long?
Too long.
Too long. So like, what if I had it like just a little bit out here?
No, I mean if it's just a little bit, like if you hadn't clipped your nails or something like that. But if you've got long, gross nails and stuff, that is like
no
gross.
Good. No good. Yeah, when we go through the list too, we can kind of hit on some of these. I think this list is important. So there's one from this lovepanky.com. I don't even know what a love panky is. I'm old, man. I'm getting old. They go through things like respect, commitment, right? You talked about that. Passion, family, finances, future. I think those are more vague ideas, right? So for me,
if I'm talking to somebody, and I'm sorry, Christopher, if I'm talking to somebody and they tell me that they cheated on their spouse, I'm done.
You wouldn't date somebody who's previously cheated, even if they say they would not cheat again.
No, I really don't want that. And there was a guy one time that told me that he left his wife because she was sick. That was it. That was the end of the date for me.
He left his wife because she was sick?
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like a bit of a D-bag, but it sounds like they're made.
I think character is an important factor.
Yeah.
If you're looking for somebody long term and character is important to you, I think that is important. Hey, we got a message already. Hey, Kimmy. Oh yeah.
Bad hygiene. No, thank you.
No, thank you.
Yeah, bad hygiene for me is definitely important. And hygiene, and I say this, people say, why is it so important to me? When I love on someone, I'm going to love their entire body. And I'm talking head to toe, like every crevice, right? So I can't do that if you're not going to take care of your body. In fact, I've even had a partner and be like, and not even because their hygiene was bad, just because it was a hot summer day. Like, hey, hop in the shower. I want to love on your body. So let's do that. So I think that's super important. They brought up one that I thought was really important. Let's talk about finances for a second, Cece. I coming from the generation that I come from, I have quite a bit of college debt. That might have been a turnoff for your generation and even my generation. What are your thoughts on debt, finances, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of important. I don't think that it's a deal breaker, so to speak, when you first start to date and things, but because we've got to face it, the way our economy's been up and down, people are really struggling. There's divorces, so your income is halved, and people are left with a lot of debt at times. So there's a lot of things like that. So to me, that's not a big thing. I mean, I don't want someone that's living in a cardboard box under the bridge,
Right.
But but if they're responsible, I feel that they're responsible and they've just had hardships. I've been there, done that, still have the t-shirt. So yeah. So I totally get it. I totally get that. So yeah. But to me, it's what's more important to me, I think, is some of the characteristics that we had mentioned, and then really the character of the person, right? The how they are as an individual. To me, that's really important. But I think the hygiene is probably like right up there with the number one. Smoking is right up there with the number one. Also, I think maybe how they drive. If you're out with them, are they responsible? Those kind of things. What were some of the other ones? I mean, I had a list.
But are those non-negotiables, or are they just things you'd want? Like, if somebody was a bad driver and you loved them, would that be a non-negotiable? Because that's what we define.
Scared you. I mean, if they scared you, if you felt like your life was in danger, there would be anything. I've never experienced that. I've always had people that were very responsible.
Yeah, I'm a terrible driver. We would never work out, Cece. As if we haven't figured out lots of other reasons that we disagree. I'm a terrible driver. And if you're on our Instagram, we're going to be heading out to TikTok, or you could just check out the link right in my story. So
and then also being truthful. I mean, I think that's another one. Someone that tells you lies and stories, and they're not being honest with you about certain things. That's a characteristic, a flaw in their
it's funny. I've actually had partners say, "I don't need to know the whole truth. I'm okay." Believe it or not. Just just don't lie to me about the big stuff.
Right.
But for example, if I was in a long distance, I've been in, a couple of years ago, I was in a long distance relationship, and we weren't monogamous, we were open, and she said, I don't really need to know. I don't need to know the details. Just don't tell me that kind of stuff if you're out on a date or something like that. So I've been there before. Let me just save this to my Instagram.
Here's one. Kimmy saying cockiness is one for her. She doesn't like.
But now, Kimmy, is cockiness a non-negotiable, or is it just something you don't like?
No, with Kimmy, I think it's a non-negotiable. Like if you're out or something, and then they're not nice to the waiter or the waitress.
Well, that's again being a d-bag. I don't know if that's being cocky as much as it's just being a complete d-bag. Because I'm pretty cocky, but I treat people pretty nicely. I treat servers and those types of folks really nicely. And I don't know that I would. I say that I don't like arrogance, but I don't know that I would say that that's a non-negotiable. I would say that might be something that I might want to correct and see if there's a way to correct that, and with a partner, because oftentimes I find, and to your point, Kimmy, oftentimes I find that folks who are the cockiest, the way I typically deal with arrogance is I say, have I done something to make you feel insecure? Because what I typically find is when folks are cocky, it's because they feel insecure. When folks are super arrogant, it's when they feel insecure. So I take ownership of that, and I'll say, are you being arrogant because I'm making you feel insecure? Have I done something? Have I looked elsewhere? Have I mentioned another woman? Have I done something that made you feel less than? Because and you'll often find that that's the answer, is that it actually could be attributed to something they're feeling.
Yeah, she goes on to say, non-negotiable. LOL. I guess it all depends on the situation for the cockiness, but if you're just a straight d-bag, then it's no good for me.
Yeah. So, for example,
but okay, here's the thing, though. You're at the beginning of a relationship, right?
Right.
You are at the lovey-dovey. I'm putting on my best. I'm putting on my best for you.
Yeah.
And you don't even know the yucky stuff yet. And if you're starting to hit the yucky stuff at the very beginning, run. I mean, because this is not going to be good. I mean, you know what I mean?
It all depends.
You haven't gotten past the honeymoon stage, and you're already at the divorce.
It all depends. I think if you're seeing the worst in someone right away, maybe that's a good thing. That's
absolutely. Because maybe it's not really like the worst of the individual.
Yeah,
it's not good for you, right?
Red
flags.
For example, if I were out with a partner, let's say. So for the first probably 5 or 6 dates at least, I'm paying. Maybe on date 4 or 5, I'll let you pay for the tip, or I'll let you pick up the coffee or something like that. But typically going to pay for the for the first 5 or 6 dates. Now, let's say we get to date 6 or whatever, it's my birthday in the middle of us starting to date, and somebody wants to take me to dinner, and they don't tip the server, or they're rude to the server or something like that. To me, that might be a non-negotiable for sure. But within the first month or two, if somebody had a moment of arrogance or cockiness, to me, that wouldn't be a non-negotiable as much. It would be, again, hey, I noticed that you did this thing over here. Like, what's going on here? Like, where did that come from? Because, if you see a pattern of arrogance and cockiness, that's a lot different than seeing one event. Am I off?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Here we got another comment. One for me is someone who isn't driven or inspired to do something. I went on a date with a guy who stayed unemployed because he felt too good for taking a job beneath him. I was so not okay with that.
Yeah, it's funny. I did a few dates.
How much did I miss? Oh, you missed a lot.
That's all right, Shruti. You can come back. You can watch us. By the way, if you ever miss our show live, folks, you can just go on YouTube or Facebook, and now there's so many different platforms. You can just go on your Roku, and there's 1,000,001 ways. In fact, I just got a Roku TV. I can't wait to watch our podcast, and it'll be a lot of fun. But it's interesting. I've met a lot of folks who've been unemployed. The pandemic, I think, has really changed how I view employment. Before that I was definitely very cautious of folks who stayed unemployed for a long period of time. I dated one person who did that kind of thing. He said, well, I'm unemployed. Well, this job didn't like me because of this reason, and that that job didn't like it because that reason. It's all their fault. And then I started realizing it's probably not their fault. It's probably your fault. The funny thing was, I didn't realize she had taken a job as a coat check at another restaurant to just kind of, make ends meet. And a few months later, I took my new girlfriend on a date at that place, and she messaged me and said, "How dare you? You were just trying to rub your girlfriend." And I said, "I had no idea. You said you're unemployed. I didn't know you were the coat check of this one restaurant." So it got into this whole big thing, and she got said, "Yes." To answer your question, it's very hot on TikTok. We're at 110 degrees here in Vegas, and my air conditioning unit is broken. So I've got the front of the house with as many air conditioning units as possible while I wait for my new AC to come in. So I'm wearing this Arctic freeze thing. But thank you for
another one says, "Oh, I agree, Christopher. I'm not." Wait a minute. Okay. All right. Let's back it up, everyone. We don't agree with Christopher. Okay?
We do. Right. We do.
Agree. We only put up when you
poisoning everyone.
So I'm just kidding. Okay. I agree, Christopher. I'm not going to say you've got to go after one incident. It's constant.
Then it's a deal breaker. Yeah, I'd say so. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I think it's fair. I think Lindsay's agreeing with me as well.
Well, I think some of the other characteristics is, things like maybe, of course, that part of hygiene would be bad breath, would be,
right.
Your teeth. Some people feel, negative about, bad teeth and things like that.
Right.
No teeth.
See, now here's one. Love Pucker or whatever it is. Love Panky. They say substance abuse and addiction, and to me that's kind of that's a tough one because I've dated folks who have been former addicts or dealing with an addiction, and that's really hard. It's really hard to say no to someone who's actively trying. Now when an addiction becomes so impactful that it starts to ruin your life, then yes, I can see that. But if someone's actively dealing with an addiction, I don't know that I would cut them out of my life. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think for me, I've had kids, right? And so when I was dating, when Harry was younger, if they were anywhere near drugs or did anything like that, if it was the beginning of the relationship, I just cut it because I just couldn't, I didn't want to go down that road,
Yeah.
And so I wanted to make sure that everything was all good for my son. And so I never messed with anything like that. I don't do drugs. And so I can't really think I would be a relatable person,
Yeah. I'd actually be more okay with someone who were fighting an addiction than somebody who were a smoker. Because I feel like in today's day and age, we're trying to learn how to get away from smoking cigarettes. I dated somebody who was really, really into smoking marijuana. This was before it was legal. It didn't really affect me as much. She smoked every night before she went to bed, and now I smoke because I live in Nevada. So, it's not so bad. And now with all the vapes and things like that, I feel like there's so many other ways that you can get your nicotine without having to worry about it.
Lindsay said she's also dated many recovering addicts and just have to know and accepted that their sobriety is number one. That's true.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's talk about this for just a minute for when we've got another one here about the hygiene. But, talking about that, I'm at a different point in my life, right? And so I want someone in my life where I can be in this last quarter of my life and be as happy as I can. And so I want to be with someone where we're sharing experiences, we're blending, we're not really going, having to climb up this mountain of obstacles, And so, and I know it's not any kind of relationship, but if there's a lot of things that I'm seeing at the very beginning that's just negative one after another, I don't want to go down that road. I really don't want to. Well, and I think that's a non-negotiable for me.
You and I are in different parts of our dating lives, right? And unfortunately, by the way, if you're on TikTok, just head over to my Instagram profile. It's right on the story, but we only do about 10 minutes live on each of our platforms. So head right to Instagram, click on the story. You can get on YouTube and comment. We love to hear your comments. Sorry for looking like a fool, by the way. I'm wearing my little AC unit, but I'll see y'all later. So you and I are in different parts in our relationship, right? Or in our lives where I don't see too much. Like I said, some of my non-negotiables I still kind of negotiate on if the intent is to always improve yourself, right? So if somebody's a jerk, then they're just going to be a jerk, right? But if somebody's, fighting an addiction or smoking or, maybe it's a question, they mistreat, maybe they mistreat a server at a restaurant, but they just don't know any better, right? Maybe they don't go out to restaurants that often. They're young or something like that. I can deal with that versus now you're in your, late 32, 33 years old. You're trying to find folks who are going to be compatible for the last, 30, 40 years of your life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
See what I did there for you?
Another thing is, here, I just want to make sure I get it here. And I think she brings up a good point here. Deal breaker for me is hygiene and lack of goals or drive to make a difference in the world.
Yeah.
I think too, someone that doesn't have any type of drive or for me, it would be the latter part of their life that I need someone that still has some excitement left in them,
Right.
I don't want to just sit around and watch reruns of, Gomer Pyle or something. I want to, I don't even know what that show is.
Of course I know what Gomer Pyle is.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, no, I want someone that's still got some zest, zest in their life and want to, have some fun and do some things. Another one is a deal breaker for me is like a hoarder, right? Someone that has a lot of clutter or very dirty, or you go over to their house and you see just this total mess everywhere.
So all the folks who helped me move this weekend might say that I'm a hoarder. I'm trying very hard to get rid of stuff. But I think this all comes down to lifestyle, right? So one of the things that when my ex-wife and I split up, she said to me very, very early on in the separation, she separated our bank accounts or what, I forget what she did, but she basically said, I'm gonna, I remember she took my car and traded it in for a new car because like I had taken her car or whatever. She said, we need to separate our finances very quickly because you spend money differently than I do. So I often made a lot of money. I was in sales and then I, was in consulting, but I also spent a lot of money. So she said, you spend money differently than I do. Let's just move this on quickly. I think that would probably be something you'd want to discuss early on in a relationship about how you spend money versus how you save money. So now I'm in a place in my 30s. I've lived one hell of a decade in my 20s and a little bit in my 30s. I'm very frugal about how I spend my money. So I would want someone who would do the same thing. I would say recently, not, in the past year, I dated somebody who was a little bit more like to spend more money on things. And I felt that they shouldn't have been spending that money. And so it became a point of contention. Stop spending money. Let's save for a future. Just, didn't hit. And again, it could be a non-negotiable, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So let's see what Sharita says.
Well, money is always an issue, right? That always seems to be, I'm not a real extravagant person, so I don't really have that kind of, most guys are usually pretty happy with me because I'm not extravagant. But the clutter and the dirt and the, the hoarding and I'd be feeling like I have to clean all the time.
Well, well, dirt, man. Ooh, you know what? I flipped the Arctic Circle thing, and now it's feeling better. Oh, I had it on the wrong way. Oh, it was blowing into my neck instead of blowing into my face. Now, I would say dirt for sure.
Sorry that you had to experience this in your new place. Yeah,
I know it's awful, absolutely awful. I would wish this on nobody. Do we want to pull up Shariva's comment?
Oh yeah, let me do that. I'm sorry.
So my purpose is to make a difference that lasts beyond my lifetime. If I can't do that beside you, I can't be with you. I will not make myself small for anyone. I want to address a couple things. So yes, I think some folks want somebody who's ambitious, but some folks don't, right? So some folks, I think I've dated folks who are very content with work, go home, live their life, watch some Netflix, get into something new, and that's cool. For me, I want to go to galas and I want to donate to charity and I want to always have a side hustle and maybe donate my time and maybe, be a big brother, big sister, that kind of stuff. So I'd want somebody who would do those things. But, there's this other thing, too, I want to address, Sharif, and I know I'm sure you didn't mean this in a bad way. I will not make myself small for anyone. Nobody's saying that when you come home after work and just want to chill, that you're being small. It's just different mindsets. Some folks, they're an accountant or a firefighter or whatever they are, a nurse, a doctor, a teacher, whatever, and they come home and that's their life and that's fine. It doesn't mean that they're smaller or larger. It just means that that's where their ambition is. Some folks take on their kind of side hustle energy and build a family or have 4 dogs or, whatever. I don't know that makes them any smaller or larger. What are your thoughts, Cece?
Well, when I read it, what came to mind for me and made me think was that, you want someone that's going to understand you. And if you
Right.
have a different purpose in life, if you have something like for me, I've been very driven. We've established this. First, we had the live streaming radio station. Then we went on lives. We did a lot of podcasting. We're going live. We're doing the Roku streaming now, and then we have all of the different websites. Helping people and doing all that. That's a real passion for me.
Sure.
And I need someone in my life that gets that. Doesn't mean they have to do it with me or whatever, be semi-supportive, I hope, but get how important it is to me that it's not about making money, it's about helping people for me. And
Yes.
I've had people in my life saying, well, you're not making any money. You should just quit doing that.
No.
Why are you wasting your time? Because I feel like I'm changing somebody's life. That's why I'm doing it.
Yeah, I would agree.
I suffered myself and people have helped me. And so it's my way of paying it back, paying it forward. I feel like it's my quest in life to do that. And so I need someone that would understand that it's not about the buck, that it's about giving back to someone else and doing what I'm supposed to do. And like my one friend says, well, she said, it's your ministry. It's what you feel like you need to do. And so I think I get that about not feeling like what you do in life, no matter what it is, someone thinks it's small. You want them to think that it's important. If it's important to you, it should be then important to them and want you to grow and develop from there. So that's how I took it.
And I think that comes down to the same thing, right? We talk about mutual respect and understanding. So one of the things for me that is very important, this isn't the only project that I work on, right? I've got Bold and Fabu Plus and my life coaching, and I'm writing a couple of books. And so, for me, I don't know if it's a non-negotiable, but whoever enters my life needs to understand that probably 14 to 15 hours a day, my brain is elsewhere most days. Call it 4 days a week. I'm working. I'm doing these great things. I want to try to change the world and do all these great things. They'll need to fit into that. I've had partners, great, wonderful people, be like, hey, you know what? You need a lunch break. I know you do. I know you're going to take a break for lunch. Let me just hop over and bring you lunch, or meet me for lunch, or hey, I'm cool with sitting on the couch next to you if you get some work done, right? And that to me is such an act of service and kindness that really, truly speaks to my soul. At the same time, when I hear that from someone, what I hear is, you need more of my time, and that's okay. Then I will go on my end and compromise what I can compromise and say, clearly you need a little bit of time. Let me take, Wednesdays are my podcast days. Tuesdays I'm hanging out with my Masons. How about Monday? I won't do anything after work. We'll go for a walk and get a bite to eat. And so I think it all comes down to that level of mutual, that understanding and compromising anything that you can compromise, right? If somebody comes over and says, I'm going to come over on, great example. I've had folks insist, no, you're working too hard. I'm going to come over. You're going to snuggle with me and blah, 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 blah. It doesn't work for me. It doesn't. Whether you think I need it or not, I need to come to that decision on my own.
Right. Okay. She went on to explain herself. So let's see. I didn't mean it that way. It was all about perspective. I have a goal for myself. If I reduce that, I make myself smaller than I dreamed for myself. And then I don't measure my dream or purposes against anyone else's. If your purpose and dreams are your own, when someone asks you not reach your potential because you're not willing to walk beside you.
Well, and now, so that, Shariva, and I'm glad that you explained that. That's, to me, a very different situation. So that's not so much having different lifestyles as much as somebody now asking you to compromise your lifestyle. So that's like somebody saying, why can't you just sit and watch Netflix with me? That's a very different scenario. I'll tell you, I dated somebody a couple years back, probably one of the most compatible people that I've ever dated in most areas. We were just in sync. There were 2 times, Cece, where we were both in the same newspaper. One time we were on the same page of the newspaper. It was some sort of, we were doing professional stuff. We would go to charity events. We would network together. We would host brunches for our family. So many amazing things. It really wasn't sick. We had an Etsy store. It was a lot of fun. And other stuff, got in the way, and so it didn't work out. But, I don't think, this person was such a kind person. I don't think she would have asked me to change who I was. I think that if I weren't that type of person with that kind of drive, she just probably wouldn't have been attracted to me, and it just wouldn't have worked.
Right, right. I went on a date one time and this was a while back, with a guy. He was an attorney, and he was getting ready to retire, and he lived somewhere else, and he wanted a woman that would move, be willing to relocate. Which, at the time I said, yeah, I probably could do that. He was actually living closer to where my son was, so I could do that. And then, but then the other thing he said is he wanted you not to work. He wanted, what I was doing, he would want me to give up that completely because he's retired, and he wants someone to be 100% all attention on him and whatever he wanted to do. And I mean, he was straight up about it,
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
And I said, you know what? I'm not your girl. I mean,
yeah, right, and that's okay, right?
100% to anyone like that.
Yeah, he'll find who he needs to find, and you'll find who you need to find. See, I'm the opposite, actually. Mm-hmm. Even, I've made a lot of money in my life. I do pretty okay now. I probably could support a household of, me, a partner, and I. Let's say I tripled my income, and I could do that easily. I still would want my partner to come home and have something exciting to talk about, right? Even if we don't need the money, maybe you're helping with a charity, or you're doing something that's exciting to me. I don't know that I can come home to a partner or spouse and I say, what did you do today? And they say, well, I took care of the house, and I took care of the kids, and I did whatever. And not only that, but I want to take care of the house and the kids too. So those are things that I want to be able to do.
Right. Yeah, I thought boy, how boring would life be after the excitement. And he said he had a lot of money and whatever, and I guess if I was a gold digger, I probably would have went for it. But
sure,
it just wasn't. It was like, no way, I'm not giving up what I'm doing. It was important to me. But yeah, so I mean, I think the non-negotiables. I think as we progress here and talk about the non-negotiables, there's standard ones that I think are out there, like the smoking and hygiene and all of those kind of things. But then there's the other ones that are really much more personal to you, that are underlined, and they have deeper meaning, that are non-negotiables to you. As you continue to meet someone, and then you start dating them, and as you start building a relationship together. And so that's where you start. They call them red flags, right? And that's where you start seeing those things, and then you have to make a decision on whether you're going to continue to move forward, or if you're going to, back it up.
Now that's interesting. Do you call that a red flag if it's a non-negotiable, even if it's not harmful? See, I always think of a red flag as something that could harm you, like abuse or cheating.
I think, to me, a red flag, it would be, of course, that, but it also is something where I say it stops for me. There's something stopping me now. So a red flag to me is like, okay, something's happening in the relationship, or happening within the personalities, or something that's causing me to say, okay, I don't think this is going to be good for me. And so it creates a stop for me. So
I'd be curious.
Green light, I'm getting a red light, that kind of thing.
I'd be curious to see from our commenters, how do you define a red flag? To me, a red flag is something that's harmful. It's something that is definitely, a negative. But to Cece, it seems like a red flag is something that she just disagrees with. So if you would comment on that, I'd like to hear your opinion, because then I've been approaching red flags all wrong. When I see someone talk about red flags, I tend to think, you're really talking about somebody in a negative light if you're talking about red flags. To me, a red flag is like, ooh, bad, really bad person. That's not how you view them.
No, that's not. Because I view it from a personal standpoint. And so when I'm, and I just think for myself or anybody else out there that's looking to build a relationship with someone, it's like green light, right? When you first meet someone, it's a green light. Everything is starting to go. You're meshing. You're blending together. Things are happening, and it's a kind of a green light for you. Then things start showing up, right? That gives you caution. So then you have that yellow going on. And so you're starting to think things a little bit through. You're thinking about it as you continue on, but you haven't said, no, this isn't going to work for me. But a red is where you say, okay, no, this is not going to work for me. This isn't what I'm looking forward, going forward in my life. This isn't what I want in my life. And so you have the red flag. You've got a flag that stops you to move forward. But do we stop? No, we don't, because we see those red flags and we still think maybe we could change, or they could change, or maybe we're looking at things differently. So sometimes we have to be hit in the face with those red flags lots of times for
Now,
it to get
now
to
here's
like,
a question. As we're wrapping up, Cece, here's a question. And I'm sorry, you might hear my dog walking around I'm in my living room.
Time is gone. My goodness.
I know. So as we're wrapping up a little bit, here's a question, Cece. Have you gone forward with a red flag that you knew was a bad idea from jump? Not that you found out later, because hindsight's always 20/20. Have you moved forward with a red flag, and then what happened? Did you learn to love that person, or did it not work out?
Well, there's been many times when I've moved forward when there was a red flag. And there's been times when I've moved forward and I kind of regretted it, knowing that I knew this, I made this conscious decision to go ahead and move forward. And then there's other times when I put a red flag down, right? And I said, you know what, this isn't for me. I set a boundary for myself. I'm not going to, let this go. And then I realized, maybe I'm being harsh. Maybe I'm letting some of the things from my past, trigger me to create this. And maybe I am my own red flag,
Could be.
Yeah.
Could be. Yeah.
Sometimes I have to step back, and I think that's a good thing. I think it's times when we see these red flags. If it's danger, of course, absolutely, no, that's a non-negotiable. But if it's something that you're stopping yourself going forward, you have to ask yourself, why? Is it something that you can reevaluate and say to yourself, is it fear that I'm not that's holding me back? Is it something from my past that's holding me back? Or is it really something I truly don't want? So you have to really think about your boundaries and how you want to go. And the biggest thing is you have to think about your life and what you truly want for yourself, and I think though you have all the answers within you. And so often, if we get ourselves in a quiet spot and we think about those things, we think about life as we want it to be, and we look to the other side, we look to the end of it, we'll have the answers of whether that's a red flag that we need to maybe turn into a caution or, reevaluate it,
yeah.
right?
I mean, one thing that I always think about.
I love you. Absolutely right, she says.
Oh, of course she says. Yes, of course you love that. Now, Shariva actually spoke a little bit about wanting to stay home if I had another child. Something's not good for my mental health long term. Yeah, I think so. I think.
I missed this one. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I would want to spend all my years before school. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Finding a new business venture, it doesn't mean that you wouldn't do anything. I think it's fair. I think as we explore this idea of non-negotiables, though, I think that some of them are hard non-negotiables and some are just preferences, right? Because for the right person, you may change some of those things. One thing that you know about me is I teeter, right? Am I monogamous? Am I open? Am I non-monogamous? That kind of stuff. And for the right person, I would close the relationship, I think. And hopefully the right person would understand that maybe sometimes we'd want to open that relationship sometimes as well. And so I think, those are types of things that for me are flexible, but for them, it may be non-negotiable, right? For me, I don't care necessarily if somebody has a great deal of college debt. That may mean we don't get married, though, right? We have to do a non-legal ceremony to show our love because I'm not taking on your debt or whatever, that kind of stuff. Do I want someone with 5 or 6 kids? Not necessarily, but can we figure out what that looks like? Am I stepdad? Am I Uncle Christopher? Am I cool friend? That type of stuff. I think if the love is there are a lot of things that you can work with. But like you said, if there's a complete red flag that's abuse, that's dangerous, that's hurtful, that's whatever, for me, it's a couple of different things. I don't think I can be with someone, for example, who just wants to have like very vanilla experience in the bedroom. Just not, I hang out with you for a couple of weeks and then I'm going to want more, Anyway, I'm sure that we want to wrap up. What are your closing thoughts on this, Cece?
Pardon?
What are your closing thoughts on this?
Well, my closing thought is, again, like you said, if it's a red flag where it's danger or something like that, you most certainly want to step back from it. I think that we have to, on the non-negotiables, we really have to consider, are they truly, truly important? Because sometimes I think we use the non-negotiables as a way of keeping ourselves safe, as saying, we're fearful of moving forward in our lives. So we make up these reasons as to why we don't want to move forward with somebody. And more of those non-negotiables are really our own personal fears and beliefs. So we want to think about those twice before we say no to someone, unless we truly want to. So, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I would agree, and I think, as we get to meet people, think about what your true non-negotiables are versus what are some things that you just prefer, right? And if it's just a preference, maybe there are things that you can be open about. Maybe there are things that you can really start to learn about yourself and why those things are non-negotiables, and figure out if this person could enlighten you a little bit. And with that, you have watched the Boy and Girl Show on Going Bold Wednesdays. I am your co-host, Dr. Christopher Salute, life coach and relationship coach, and I'm joined by Cece Shatz, the Doyenne of Relationships and all things wonderful. Please hang out with us. We're going to take a quick 13-minute break, and then we're going to be back for the barbershop. So please hang out with us for the barbershop. Tonight's episode, even if you're not a guy, it's talking about asking for more bro time. How do you do it? So we'll see you in a little bit. And thank you, Cece, as always.
Okay, bye.